Now, the struggle really nowadays is against secularism versus Islam, because the West is not really presenting a religious alternative or spiritual alternative to the Islamic challenge, although this might be actually what's called for ultimately, that the West needs to recover its own spiritual resources. And I would certainly think that that's the case. But at this point, it's really a struggle between consumerism and Islam, or secularism, secular materialism, and Islam. And so, for example, you have, in 1987, an American journalist, Charles Glass, decided to walk from Turkey to Egypt. It might not have been very wise, and sure enough, in Lebanon, he was kidnapped by the Hezbollah and held as a hostage. Now, he found that his captors, while he's being held there as a hostage, are dedicated to destroying the West and destroying American values, destroying, in other words, secularism and materialism, and they're listening to Madonna records, you know, while they're holding a gun on him and ready to kill him if he moves. And they ask him things like, do you think American girls would find me attractive? And yet, at the same time, it doesn't stop them from acting in this regard, in this manner. The point is that while the attraction of secularism is undeniable and true, and there is no doubt a tremendous ambivalence in the Islamic world as to how to respond to it, and that attraction is felt there, at the same time it would be naive in the extreme to think that it's going to completely overcome these religious impulses that are coming from the core Islamic materials. It would be naive to think that because you give people some money or McDonald's or something that they'll be happy and they'll stop. This is, well, as it has been termed by other people, a clash of civilizations, whether we really like it or not, or whether we want to fight or not, because what we have here is a large and growing group of people who consider that that's exactly what it is. I will close up to take some questions, but I wanted to point out one last thing, and that is that we are probably numerically talking about a small group of people within the Muslim world, maybe 10%, 15%, who believe that it's part of their religious responsibility to wage war against non-Muslim elements. However, that's 100, 150 million people right there. But also because they are winning the debate about how to interpret the Quran and the violent verses that I quoted at the beginning, they are extremely formidable and liable to be growing. I can give you an example that's actually a 100-year-old example, and I chose it precisely because it's 100 years old to indicate that this state of affairs is nothing new. That there can be people who live quiet lives and peaceful lives, and they just want to be left alone. But then there are some of them who, at a certain point in their life, might think, I want to be more serious about my religion, and then they are vulnerable, if they are Muslims, to this kind of exegesis, and always have been. The story comes from Turkey, where, in accordance with long-standing practice, whenever there was a period of political or social upheaval, the leaders would generally tend to become more Islamic. That what we need to solve this problem is to get back to pleasing God, and so we need to become more genuinely Islamic and more strict about our religion. And that's when episodes like this happen. This is an old woman recounting what happened. She said, one night my husband came home and told me that the Padishah had sent word that we were to kill all the Christians in the village and that we would have to kill our neighbors. Now, you can imagine that the Padishah is saying something as outrageous as that. He's able to get the point across by appealing to the kinds of verses in the Quran that I quoted earlier. I was very angry and told him that I did not care who gave such orders. They were wrong. These neighbors had always been very kind to us, and if he dared to kill them, Allah would pay us out. I tried all I could to stop him, but he killed them with his own hand. Now, this is not to say, once again, that everyone is likely to become a killer, but only that the challenge that the moderate Muslims in the world face, as well as in the United States, is to formulate an explanation of the Quran and of the Sunnah of the Prophet, the traditions about the Prophet Muhammad, that defangs the violence in it, that declaws the book, that makes it so that when the extremists say what we have to do is kill these people because this is what the Quran says, they say, no, you're misreading it, and here's why, and this is an argument that they will find compelling. They're not doing it. And I'm not sure that it can be done. I hope that it can be done, certainly. But this is the challenge. And once again, the reason why it's important for us to know it is so that, very simply, so that we know what we're up against. You remember the movie Patton? And how Patton beat Rommel, the German general, because he read his book on military tactics. And so because he read the book, he knew what Rommel was going to do. So then when Rommel did it, he was ready, and he beat him. He read his book. The problem that we have in the United States is that we're not reading the Muslim book par excellence, the Quran, or listening to what Muslims themselves are saying. And the formulation that there's moderate Islam and extremist Islam, and they're two widely divergent things, and never the twain shall meet, and so on, and that extremist Islam is a patent misuse of the texts. Well, that's very nice, but does it really tally with what the Muslims are saying? So, I see that we've come to 4:45, and thank you very much, and does anybody have any questions?